Morning, everyone! Woo!
Welcome back to the Well-Fed Freelancer, where your deepest, darkest nightmares come true. Today, we'll be discussing the absolute horror of making more money, but doing less work.
Connor, can I just say something, mate?
What?
You're far too young to try to have that kind of deep and forbidding voice.
Welcome back to the Well-Fed Freelancer podcast, where today...
Now you sound like a fucking old lady with lung cancer.
Where today we'll be talking about the recession.
Just stop, all right? Just stop. Leave it to the experts, all right?
I was going more for a horror type of vibe, if I'm honest.
Yeah, well, don't, all right?
I wasn't trying to be a man with gravitas.
Just stick to fucking Facebook advertising and running this podcast. That's about all you're fit for.
You shut the fuck up, you cheeky little cunt. You have said several times in private that I am the most wonderful marketer ever.
Can you prove it?
I don't need it. It's in my heart, and that's all that matters.
Any claim made without evidence can be dismissed without evidence. Christopher Hitchens told us that. Hitchens.
That depends whether I want people, if I care if people believe me or not. I don't.
You do, clearly, because you're telling them. No, you didn't.
No, this is...
Liar.
There may as well not be an audience to this conversation, John. This is between me and you. Me and you. You know you said it. I know you said it.
Liar.
You know you said it. I know you said it.
Liar. You're angry, aren't you?
Say less. I'm calm. Have you ever seen a cucumber?
No, Connor, I've never seen a cucumber.
Because you've never seen one as cool as me.
Liar.
You're boring. Let's move on.
Liar.
You wanted to talk to me about your predictions for the recession.
I never fucking want to talk to you, mate. I just have to, otherwise I don't make any money. Yeah, okay. Yeah, seriously. Let's be nice to each other.
Let's be nice. No, fuck you.
Let's #be kind. Yeah, the recession. Some predictions. Don't want to get too specific with niches necessarily, but what's a big niche is generally service provider. Anyone in B2B in the selling money at a discount business, which is basically all freelancers, creatives, coaches, consultants, that kind of thing. And by selling money to discount, what I mean is you might pay me and Connor, say, 25k to come in and teach your sales team how to do sales properly for 3 days. And you will then make 100k every month out of it because you're making more money, ROI, 300-400% ROI consistently. That's us selling money at a discount. Well, most people, if you think about it, in B2B are doing the same thing because, freelancers, creatives, etc. They all promise to be able to either improve your business, improve your productivity, improve your sales, improve your profitability, improve your work, all that stuff that makes businesses run more smoothly and more profitably. That's the basic premise. Well, the way people are, and this is not just common sense or certainly logical deduction, but also this is from experience of the last couple of recessions, we're in the big ones and the little ones. The first thing to go is creatives and all that B2B stuff. It's true. I remember the 2007, get this right, I wish I was making this up, but I promise I'm not. It'll actually still be there now because the BBC never deletes anything. Somewhere on the BBC website in 2007, 2008, the last big recession, some woman came on, she was an estate agent, and she said, I wish I was making this up, she said, it's so bad, we've had to stop all our advertising, which is a real shame because it was the only thing bringing in business. Just stop and think about that, if you have to. And that's what happens. Now, what I'm seeing already, and what I guarantee we will see more of, is several things. The first, we're going to see a lot more coaches and success peddlers and the like selling stuff which is not specific. It's intangible. So they'll be selling feel-good stuff like confidence, well-being, mindset, and they'll be doing that because they don't know how to sell to make money. So they've got to sell something that makes you feel better, and it probably will work for a short period of time. But feeling good and being poor still means you're poor. Don't get me wrong; it's good to feel good. It's better to feel good than bad, poor or not. but they're not. They will be. They'll be implying to be selling you one thing like greater success, but they're not. They'll be selling you a feeling. That's the first thing you'll see. The second thing you're going to see is a massive cutoff in the number of firms prepared to pay reasonable rates for creative stuff. Most of them, or many of them, will just stop, and the rest will be trying to squeeze you on price. That doesn't mean to say you should drop your prices, by the way. It does mean to say that you've got to learn to sell better. All right, because there will still be ones out there who actually know what the score is. And there will be ones out there, not as many, of course, but there'll be some out there who see everyone zigging and they want to zag. They're the people you should be working with. Third thing you're going to see, and I said I've seen this already as well, you're going to see these creatives and marketers, particularly people selling money to discount, on the one hand saying, don't drop your prices, you should be employing as freelancers, you should be zigging when everyone else is zagging. That's what they'll be saying. But in their own business, they'll be cutting corners themselves. They'll be stopping subscriptions. They'll be looking for free advice. They'll be basically being hypocrites. Now, one thing, and we've said this before as well, one thing we do not do is scrimp and save on education and training. We probably spend between 10 and 20k a year on it. Depends what we're doing that year. I think last year we probably spent about 30k on it. We had Bowen and Sharfen, didn't we? So that was about 30 grand more, probably near 40.
And if you look over the course of 2 years, yeah,
if we average it out. So we walk our talk, you know. Don't get us wrong. We don't just spend money for the sake of it, but we pay money for what we want and need. We never buy on price, I don't think. Not just on price anyway. But you're gonna see all this. Now, the danger is, and this is one reason, again, I mean, I was talking about this 6 months ago. This is one reason to be very fucking careful how much time you spend on social media, particularly on LinkedIn. If you surround yourself with people with any certain attitude or way of speaking and thinking, you will necessarily start to adopt it yourself. One of the reasons I gave up working as a doorman, okay, was because I found myself thinking and talking in ways that weren't really me, ways that kind of almost glamorized beating people up. I actually never engaged in that myself. Yeah, but I found myself thinking and talking that way, so I stopped.
Epictetus has a fantastic quote on that. He talks about how you may consider yourself a strong man, but if you go to play with pigs, you're bound to get covered in a little bit of grime and muck. Obviously, I've butchered it, but he's essentially saying that even though you think you may be, you have free thinking, you have that ability to be independent, to be yourself, you're still going to get covered in a bit of grime if you're hanging out with some dickheads.
Without doubt. Jim Rohn used to say, you are the average of the 5 people closest to you. Now, where he got that number 5 from, I don't know. Right? It may be 10, it may be 20. I don't know. Well, I don't know. It could be from some research that somebody did. The point is, it doesn't really matter what that number is. The point is, you will tend to take on the mannerisms and behaviours of the people around you. Here's a good example of it. Male hairdressers who work with women in salons. They're not necessarily gay. Some of them are. But I noticed this when I used to go to a hairdresser. It's a long time ago now. But I used to go to salons, expensive ones in London. And the men who worked there were quite effeminate. They weren't gay, but they were quite effeminate because they worked with women all day. It's just natural.
Is that causation?
I would say so, yes, because it was common across several salons, yeah, without doubt. Oh.
You reckon they weren't just effeminate anyway, which is why they're a hairdresser?
I don't think so, no. I don't think so, no.
Okay.
The only way you could be sure of that would be to kind of observe them before and then maybe after 3 or 4 years. But it would be congruent with what we do know, is that you tend to take on the actions and the behaviours and the mannerisms of the people around you. To the extent, here's another one. I mean, my wife and kids, the ones who've lived here for some time, all speak with an Irish accent. It fades when they're in the home. It kind of fades very quickly within an hour or two. But when they go out with Irish people, they come back and they speak with an Irish accent. I haven't picked it up because I don't actually speak to many people at all, let alone Irish ones. I just don't. So I've never had that opportunity.
Yeah.
Yeah. But you know, if you move to a new area, you will start to pick up the local accent. How about Claire? She's English, but she's lived in Wales for 12 years. Guess what? She sounds like a fucking taffy. Thank you, Claire. Yes, she does. Yeah,
she does.
So it's and if you think about this, if you start speaking like people with their words and their action, sorry, their words and their accent, and the ways of speaking, well, that means you're kind of thinking like they think.
Mm-hmm.
And don't we tend to act how we think? So the evidence is all around us. You'd have to be a fucking genius to see this is so. We take on the behaviors, and even if we don't take on their beliefs, subconsciously we take on their actions. So if you are, the long and the short of it is this: if you are on social media, particularly on LinkedIn, and you're pissing and moaning and wailing and gnashing your teeth in the soggy biscuit circle jerk of misery and despair about how shit the recession is, how you're being ghosted, how your fees are being knocked down, how work is hard to come by, how you're so hard done by yourself, then don't be surprised when that starts to come true. Because you're thinking, like I said yesterday about the jar, your thinking is being limited like the pumpkin. You're thinking in a certain way that these things are true, these things are what happens. This is the reality. Well, then you conform to that reality in your head. I don't like to use the phrase limiting beliefs because, one, a belief is really accepting something is true without necessarily having any evidence for it.
We're talking about limiting beliefs next week as well.
Limiting thinking. Yeah, well, all I'm going to say on that right now then is even the very fact you accept there are things called limiting beliefs is itself a limiting belief. And I'll explain why next week.
It's paradoxical, isn't it?
Yes, I prefer to talk about thinking because thinking is conscious. You tend not to change your beliefs, but it's easy to change your thinking.
Yeah, and to really drive this point home, it's not just social media. Yeah, if you're going down the boozer and you got mates that are being laid off or are talking about the recession there and the impact it's having, that will hurt you. If you're going home, you're seeing your missus or your husband, no judgment here, and they're telling you about Sandra down at the school pickup. You know, she's had to trade in the Rangy for a little Fiesta because of the recession. That too is going to damage you. And all of this is going to shrink your thinking. And the minute, and then someone's going to ask you, how's business? And you might lie. And you might say, oh yeah, you know, it's all right, but we're being hit by the recession. But in reality, you might be doing absolutely fine, but you feel the need to lie about your success, the things that everything's exactly the same, but you feel the need to lie to fit in. Then people will come out with their opinions. They'll start saying, that's all right, we're all going through it, aren't we? We're all in it together. I'll tell you what I did. I chopped my prices 20% the other day. I've already had an extra couple of inquiries. Why don't you do the same? No.
It is very difficult to maintain. Most people find it very difficult to maintain their current course when they're being pulled off by people. And by the way, what Connor says about your friends and your family is true. And so is just sitting there after dinner reading the newspaper. Yeah, I'm not saying you shouldn't remain up to date on important stuff, even if it's just for interest's sake. But be very discriminating in what you read, and indeed be very discriminating in what you pay attention to, and also limit it. Now, yeah, I mean, cutting your prices. We talked about this on several times over the months. Cutting your prices to thinking, well, it'll get cash flow in and I can make it up with volume is absurd. A 10% cut on a 35% margin, which is about right for most businesses in most industries most of the time, you know, well, that cuts your profits by 40%, just under. But worse than that, it means to stay exactly where you are with the same profit, you've got to work twice as hard, about 1.85 times as hard. Twice the business. Can you even do twice the business? No.
Yeah. Have you got the capacity?
If you were doing a 40-hour week, can you actually physically do an 80-hour week just to stay where you are? And if you're happy where you are, then why don't you just fucking stay there and not actually do this extra stuff? Because obviously, if you're trying to get more business, you want more money. Well, you ain't going to do that by working twice as hard. What you should be doing is three things. All right. You should first put your prices up. Your profits are solely dependent on your margin. And your margin is determined by the difference between what you pay to provide something and what you get for providing it, basically. I'm being very simplistic now, because you've got fixed costs, you've got variable cost of sale, and all that kind of stuff. Well, you've got variable cost and variable cost of sale. So, but simply put, your profits are determined by your price, because that's the difference between what it costs you and what you what you sell it for. It's straightforward. So increasing your prices by 10% on a 35% margin will give you a profit increase of 40%. And you need to work about 60% as hard to make the same amount of money if everyone fucks off. If you lose business, but you won't lose business because no one gives a shit about 10%. So charge more. Second thing is get paid up front. All right. So it depends on each business to a large extent, but some rules of thumb. If I was doing project work, anything less than 10k, I would take 100% up front. Well, tell a lie, anything under 12.5 grand, I would take 100% up front because that's my daily rate. So for doing data consulting, you pay in advance before I leave the office. If it's more than that, I would take a 50% deposit and the rest would be payable on a payment schedule every month. And I do that because if they say it's a 3-month project and then it gets stalled in 6 weeks, they still have to pay me every month until they've paid me. So I might have been paid in full and the project is still stalled because of, I don't know, supply chain issues. Not my problem. But I get paid according to payment schedule. That's the first thing. That's the second thing. Third thing is if they won't do that, okay, then 50% up front and payment on completion, not delivery. So, hello there, Mr. Client. I've finished the work. I'm ready to deliver. Here's my invoice. When you've paid it, I'll send it to you. And if all that fails, and I probably wouldn't do this, and I'll explain why. If all that fails, use an escrow service or another secured payment service like a payment trust with a solicitor or something. If they refuse to do even that, one of 3 things is almost certainly true. They want to cheat you. That's what they're intending to do. 2, they want the option of cheating you, so they're not convinced. Or 3, and this is the most likely one, they don't actually have the money to pay you right now, and they're hoping to make it up with sales in between now and when your invoice is due. The reason I say I almost certainly wouldn't do it, an escrow thing is none of those 3 scenarios is acceptable to me. The last one possibly, but the first 2 definitely not. So it means if they are only prepared to use escrow, I'd be thinking they're not really my kind of people. There's something wrong here. I don't know what it is. So I'd rather lose a good prospect than take on. I'd rather lose 10 good prospects than take on 1 bad client. So that's the second thing. So first, raise your prices. 2, get paid up front. And the third thing is stop fucking working for free. Oh, sorry, retainers. If you're doing retainers, okay, you start getting paid at the beginning of the period and not the end. So say you start working with a client on the 1st of January, you get paid on the 1st of January and then work for January. You don't work until the end of January and then get paid. Because by the time if they're late, if they're 2 weeks in, so middle of February, you've still not been paid for January. What do? You're 6 weeks in the hole now. And you think, well, if I start playing hardball, they might not pay me at all. And then before you know it, you're 2 months in. That shit's getting serious now because you need to start putting your foot down, but they've got 2 months of your money. So get paid at the beginning. Now, if you've got existing retainer clients, what you do is over a 3-month schedule, you basically bill them every 3 weeks until it's moved up to the beginning of the month. So let's imagine you start working on the 1st of January and you've agreed that they'll pay on the 31st. So what you would do is you would say, okay, the first month you carry on the arrangement, 1st of January, you start working. Then you bill them on the 3rd week of January. And then you bill them in the 2nd week of February, and then the 1st week of March, and then the beginning of April. So over a 3-month period, you've moved them up a week per month in their payment, so they're paying you at the beginning. And again, if they won't do that, then terminate the relationship. That's the judgment call. If they're historically brilliant payers, maybe you're okay. That's up to you. But certainly, whenever you possibly can, and certainly with new retainers, you get paid at the beginning. Those 3 things. Oh, sorry, I haven't got the third one yet, have I? The third one is stop working for free. So no free calls, no free consultations, no free audits, none of this. Will you have a look at this and see what you think? If they do that, what you say to them is, yeah, I can see there's some real problems with that. We should hop on a call and we can talk about how to fix it, and we can maybe come out with a plan for doing that. I charge £250 plus VAT for the hour's call. You get your money back. If I can't help you, or we end up working together. That's it. You don't do free work. All right. Those 3 things, charging more, charging up front, and charging for everything, getting paid, not working for free, will change your life within 30 days. You can do it in a recession. Just this very morning, I've seen one of my clients Okay, she's not a mentoring client, but she's been to a boot camp, and we talk every now and again. She started charging for consultations. She's a copywriter. Started charging for consultations several months ago. She was shitting herself. It took her 2 or 3 months after the boot camp to summon the courage to do it. Now, she does it. She loves it because she doesn't waste her time. She's just announced on LinkedIn she's fully booked until the end of the year. All right, and I've told her she needs to raise her prices because she shouldn't be fully booked. Right? She has done what people are telling her and me can't be done. Oh, no, you can't charge up front. People won't do that. Oh, no, you can't charge for consultations. You'll drive people away. Yes, you will. You'll drive away fucking tire kickers, cockwombles, and freeloaders. People who cannot or will not pay you for anything, ever. So this lady, her business is just, it's changed beyond recognition. She never works for free. And she's the last person, she's a sweet young lady, who's the last person you'd expect to be listening to a ruffian like me. But she's done it. She fucking loves it because it's revolutionized her business and her life. Anyone could do it. Even in fucking construction, you can do it. We've got a guy in construction who was charging 40k up front every month until they finished their job. Same guy does not do main contractor discounts. He just says no. Same guy does not accept retentions either.
He just sits there like, is it Vicky Pollard just going, computer says no. All right, how about main contractor discount? And he sits there and he goes, clickety clack, clickety clack. No.
Computer says no.
He doesn't give a reason. Doesn't give a reason, does he? He just says no.
What people will say now is you can't always do that, and I will say that's actually true. But that doesn't mean to say you can't make it so it does work always. Now, here's the trick. The trick is you need to be speaking to the decision maker. All right. You need to be speaking to the person who says yes or no. And often that also means speaking to the policy maker, because what they will sometimes say is, oh, we can't, it's company policy that we can't do that. So the next question is, okay, who makes policy? And as often as not, they'll say, well, that would be me. Well, okay, you make it, you can change it. And if they say, well, it's Fred Bloggs, well, I need to speak to Fred Bloggs then. There's no point in talking to you because I ain't doing it that way. So what you need to be doing is working with firms where you can speak to the decision maker. Now, in our business, that generally means anything from a 500k bottom for a proper business. We're not talking about freelancers. We're talking about a small business with maybe 10 employees or so. Now, I know what I just did. I just insulted freelancers.
But freelancers have a proper business.
Yeah, most of them don't. That's the problem. So a business with 500,000 to maybe 2 to 3 million in turnover. Now, the reason for that upper limit is this: when you get much bigger than that, you've usually at a size where you've got a CEO who's not really involved in the day-to-day of the business. You can't speak to him or her. So we've got this band, and what that means is you need to rein in your fucking ego, because I've got this massive PLC as a client. I don't give a shit. If you can't speak to someone who can say, yes, we're going to pay you up front, we're going to pay you a premium, and we're going to pay you at the beginning of the fucking period and for everything you do, if you can't speak to the person who can say that, you're wasting your time. So we've reined in our egos a long, 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 long time ago. And all my clients, I tell them, rein in your ego. Go for the sweet spot, 500,000 in our case to 1 mil, where you can speak to the guy or the girl in charge. That's the trick to this. And it's so trivial. It's so childishly simple. But still people don't really get it. They just look out the windows of their soul and just see every prospect and client as being the same. And they're not.
We know for a fact there are big companies where it's difficult to get in touch with the CEO, and they'll have rules in place and they'll be like, we will only let people on our preferred suppliers list if they give us a discount of minimum 10%. Otherwise, we don't even consider them. So from the get-go, you're letting someone else telling you how to run your company, dictate your prices, and therefore your profits. That is not a relationship that you'd want to be in. If you translated that to a typical, normal human relationship, not a business relationship, that would be called abuse. That would be called controlling. Yeah. So we don't allow abuse in real life. So why would we allow it in business? Don't let big companies push you about just because there's a bit of glitz and glamour around their fucking turnover. Often they're the first to go under
Mm. Especially in
and
construction.
fuck you over, especially in construction. Especially going into a recession as well. This is a real warning. There's a company called Made.com, I do believe. They do furniture, I believe. They've gone bust. I know several friends who regularly buy from Made and now won't receive thousands of pounds worth of furniture because it's gone bust. And they have gone, oh my God, this is so unfair. And I am like, I can tell you're employed and have never even looked at the world of business before because this is how it works. And they're like, do you think we'll get your money back? No. A few thousand? You are bottom of that list. You are small fish. But it's a lot of money. To you, there'll be people on there with hundreds and thousands of pounds worth of debt and they'll be paid before you are.
If they've paid on their credit cards, they will have some measure of protection. But if they've not,
Debit card. They're still trying to do what they can to get it back. But yeah, they paid on debit.
oh dear.
So yeah, unlikely.
Mm. Yeah, and as Connor says, this is going to happen more and more and more. And look, freelancers, especially freelancers, coaches, and consultants, all right. When I'm saying about get paid up front and get paid more, and get paid for everything you do, I want you to understand something, right? If you work and then get paid in arrears, so you work for the whole of January and get paid at the end of January, or you do a project and deliver it, which maybe takes you, I don't know, 4 weeks, 6 weeks, 2 months, whatever. If you do that, here's what you're actually doing. You are effectively extending an unsecured loan to an entity upon whom you've done no due diligence at all. All right. So you don't know, and you can say, yeah, I doubt that will happen and things, but you've got no evidence at all whatsoever to suggest at the end of that 2-month period, they won't go bust or just refuse to pay you or start ghosting you. And you can take them to court if you like. And if you win and they still don't pay you, what are you going to do? Go back to court? If they go bankrupt, you can do what you like. You're not getting your money. One of the reasons for getting paid up front isn't just to protect you against unscrupulous clients and slow clients. It's to protect you from clients who go bust.
Mm-hmm.
And have the protection of the bankruptcy courts. It just makes sense. And that is more important in recession than any other time, simply because businesses are more likely to go bust right now. One of our guys, the accountant, Kevin, he's got a friend and client. She owns a liquidating company. Before COVID, she had herself and 3 people in the office. She's now, I believe, got 43 members of staff plus herself, and she's still too busy. Let that fucking sink in for a little while. What that actually means.
Shocking. How fucking scary. A little liquidator, a little small team of liquidators, a team of 4, has added 40 people to their team in a short period of time.
Grown by a factor of 10 in 2.5 years. And they're too busy.
That is terrifying.
Yeah, it should be. So look, by charging up front, people say, oh, it's unethical and the rest of it, and they won't do it. Well, yeah, some of them won't do it because they haven't got the money to pay you. You know, it's as simple as that. They know they're in trouble. And them using you, okay, what they're hoping, and I'm not saying they're dishonest, they are hoping your work will save them so they can pay you. But they know that if your work doesn't save them, they won't. You've really got to get your head around this, freelancers and creatives and coaches and consultants.
Yeah. Yeah.
They will use you as a lifeline, and they don't care if it snaps because they've got nothing to lose. If you save them, they can pay you and they're okay. If they can't save you, they've lost nothing because they're going under anyway.
And and if you've saved them, you probably should be charging 10 times more than what you charge them because you've just saved their business. My light just fell off.
Struggle with tech, don't you, mate?
You fuck off right now, you cheeky fuck. Before we wrap up, there's one point that I just want to drive home doubly as hard as you did. Put your fucking prices up by 10% today because I can guarantee you I can absolutely guarantee you that you will not do it in the middle of a recession. As much as we're telling you to insulate yourself, as much as we're telling you to get paid up front, you should absolutely do those things, but you will slip. The best protection, well, the easiest in 80/20 terms, protection you can give yourself is putting your prices up. Do it now, because I guarantee you there's no fucking chance you're going to have the bollocks to do it in the middle of a recession when everyone around you is doom and fucking gloom. Put it up now whilst it's still just, whisper, gentle waves. Because when the tsunami comes, yeah, you ain't going to have the bollocks to do it. Do it now.
You're going to be too busy fucking trying to keep your head above water.
Yeah. Yeah, and you're not going to have the bollocks to take that gamble, to take that risk, even though it's not a gamble and not a risk. It's absolutely the best way to sort your company out. Sell something for a lot more money than you usually sell it for.
Or even sell it for a little bit more money, because every pound increase you make in your prices goes immediately to your bottom line.
I would go as far as saying if you don't understand your margins right now and you don't understand margin at all in business, you're not going to survive this recession, because you will behave in erratic ways that you won't understand how it's going to affect your margins and therefore your cash flow long term. Especially, like, we're fortunate, our business model is relatively simple. The businesses we deal with aren't, and they run into cash flow problems.
Yeah, I mean, the thing is, what you'll find yourself doing as well is making emotional decisions. And for instance, here's a really good example, the one I've already covered about cutting your price by just 10%. Emotionally, it's hard to accept that actually cuts your profits by 40%. You cannot argue with the maths. I mean, it's a fact.
No.
It's an incontrovertible fact. But emotionally, it feels wrong. It feels like just 10%, at least we're getting the cash flow in. It also feels emotionally wrong to understand that it means you have to double your work throughput to stay where you are, roughly. Well, again, that emotionally, that doesn't make any sense. It doesn't feel right, but it's true nonetheless. And if you are trying to do this in a situation or in a circumstance where you are highly stressed, your emotional side is almost certainly going to win out, and you'll be making stupid decisions based on what you feel instead of what's actually true. Can't say more than that, really.
Mic drop. End it here. What have these cunts got to do to get our
Put
help?
their prices up. Go to well-fed-freelancer.com and get our book. Best place to start. You'll also get the opportunity then to buy my new book that's coming out, which I can't be bothered to talk about right now. But trust me, if you like the one that I've just told you to buy, Well-Fed Freelancer, you're going to love the Well-Fed Business Owner.
It's £5. Buy it, even if you're not a freelancer, because there's a ton of bonus shit in there that is for every single business on the face of this earth. Eight bonuses, is it now?
9.
9 bonuses? Yeah, so for £5, it's a ridiculous offer, isn't it?
Insane.
Disgusting, really.
Yeah. We should charge more.
Yeah, well, we are. The next book's 20 quid. If they buy it now, it's a tenner.
Yeah.
Anywho, stay safe, wash your hands, finger your asshole, milk your prostate. See you next time.